Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. So here we have started the NCERT series where we will be covering all the topics and all the chapters of NCERT. So this is the starting, and I request you all to please watch all the videos in series so that you can develop an understanding of the subject. And this is the first video in the series, that is of 6th class NCERT, and the chapter what, where, how and when. It will help you in all the government exams, so don't feel restricted that if you are preparing for whichever exam, you can just go through these videos. They will help you in revision as well. So this chapter is basically a brief introduction of history as to how do we look at it, how do we study it. There are 4 questions that we need to ask, that is the what, where, how and when. What here refers to what happened, what were the events that took place, where means where did all these events take place, and how do we know about them. There are some methods through which we know what happened and how did we get to know about it. Okay, and then comes the when. So when did it happen? So whenever we read history, we need to keep all these questions in mind and we can get a complete overview of that time period. So the first thing that this chapter talks about is India. Where did the names of our country, India and Bharat, come from? So it says that India comes from Indus. Indus is a river that we all know, and it is called Sindhu in Sanskrit, and the Iranians and Greeks, they called it Hindos or Indos. So this is the reason that our country is called India. Then we have another name, that is Bharat. Who used this word Bharat for our country? It was used by a group of people who lived in the northwest. And where are they mentioned? They are mentioned in the Rig Veda. So Rig Veda is the earliest composition in Sanskrit. So here we have a question that in which language is Rig Veda written? It is written in Sanskrit. And then the next question is, where are the people called of the Bharata clan mentioned? So you will answer Rig Veda. So now we know that from where have the names of our country, India and Bharat, have come from. You know that our constitution also mentions the 2 names. It says in the article 1 itself, India, that is Bharat. Okay, so now we know the origin of these 2 names of our country. So from this discussion, we know that we have talked about what happened. So we will be reading about what happened in the past and where in India. We have read about the 2 names of India. Now we will see that how do we know about it. So there are different methods through which we can know about them. The first one is the manuscripts. Now question arises, what are manuscripts? Manuscripts may manu is means hand in Latin, and these are the books that have been written by hand, that were written by people with their hand, because in the past there were no printing presses like we have today. Okay, so where on which material they were written? They were written on the palm leaf, and they were or on the specially prepared bark of a tree that is known as birch. Where does this birch tree grow? It grows in the Himalayas. And what did these manuscripts talk about? They talked about the religious beliefs and the practices, the lives of the kings at that time, medicine, science at that time, and most important thing is what was the language? Language was Sanskrit, Prakrit or Tamil. Okay, and Prakrit was the language that was used by ordinary people, so they were easy to understand
is
by
the
ordinary people also.
Okay.
If they were written
Now
in
you can
Prakrit.
ask that what is the difference between manuscripts and inscriptions?
Manuscripts were written on leaves, whereas inscriptions, as you know from the word inscribe, something that is done on the hard surfaces like stone or metal. So inscriptions are something that were engraved on the stone or any other hard surface. Okay, so they had the decree of the kings as well. These inscriptions. Next thing is archaeology. What is archaeology? Archaeology is a subject that studies all the things that were made in the past. All right. And the people who are involved in archaeology are called archaeologists. What is it study? So it studies everything in a holistic way, that is the remains. It explores and they excavate old things as well.
So what all can be found as archaeological remains? These can be hard substances, things that are imperishable. So there are certain things that perish with time. We cannot find that. This is the limitation of archaeology. All right. Like we have found many tools. You might know that during the excavation of the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro civilizations as well, that the buildings have been found. We know about a lot many things like the seals, the artifacts made at that time. Why? Because they have not perished with time. They have survived, and the archaeologists have excavated them. They have given a particular time to them, and in that way we know a lot about those civilizations today. And then in the end we have the when. All right. So you might have seen in the history textbooks that there are certain things written, that is BC, AD, CE, BCE, and BP. So BC means before Christ. So there was a certain there's a certain time that is assigned to the birth of the Christ. So before the birth of the Christ, we call it before Christ, and after it we call it Anno Domini, that is AD. For AD, we also use CE, that is Common Era. And for BC, we use BCE also, that is before Common Era. So here we have some miscellaneous points. That is the beginning of agriculture. It happened 8,000 years ago. The first cities on the Indus River, 4,700 years ago. Cities in the Ganga Valley, and the establishment of a big kingdom of Magadha. That happened 2,500 years ago. So all these dates become important. Even if these don't come directly in the exam, you can just correlate them and you can be able to find out the answers for other questions through these points. So I hope that you like the video, and stay tuned for more such videos that can help you in your exams. And guys, please like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you so much.